What most people don't know is that the 16 Personalities framework was first developed by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. He published his book Psychological Types in 1921. The theory was later popularized by Catherine Briggs and Isabel Briggs Myers, who used Jung's theories to create and publish the Myers Briggs Type Indicator in 1956 and the MBTI Manual in 1962. Today, MBTI is one of the most popular assessment tools for understanding personality. It is used by almost all Fortune 500 companies, and globally it is available in 29 different languages. Hello, curious explorers. Welcome to my channel. My name is Liz, and this is The Quest In. Today, we're going to dive into MBTI Statistics to understand some simple data about the 16 personality types. You'll find out which are the most common to rarest personality types, the distribution of the 4 different temperaments, the dominance of cognitive functions, and how each of the dichotomies for type preference is split. That is, introverts versus extroverts, intuitives versus sensors, thinkers versus feelers, and judgers versus perceivers. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the distribution of personality types and trait preferences. The statistical figures were published by the Myers Briggs Company, which aggregated data from across 30 years from sources such as the Center for Applications of Psychological Type, the Myers Briggs Company, and the Stanford Research Institute. I've ordered this list from most common personality types to the rarest personality types. I'm going to refer to the 16 personalities with the MBTI type code that they are commonly known for, which are the 4 letters. If you're unfamiliar to MBTI, or even if you already know it, you could click on the link in the show notes to download a free reference guide that I made so you know how to easily read MBTI type code, understand the cognitive functions, and have a quick dictionary of helpful terms to know. First, the most common of all 16 personality types is the ISFJ Defender personality type, which is approximately 13.8% of the population. Second, the ESFJ Caregiver personality type is approximately 12%. Third, the ISTJ Inspector personality type is approximately 11.6%. Fourth, the ISFP Designer personality type is approximately 8.8%. Fifth, the ESTJ Supervisor personality type is approximately 8.7%. And what you'll notice is that 4 out of the 5 most common personality types are all sensor types, specifically with S and J in their type coding. These SJs are characterized by their guardian temperament and all have introverted sensing as either their dominant or supportive function. We'll talk more about temperaments in the second part of this episode, where you will briefly learn about the 4 types of people. 6th on the list is the ESFP Entertainer personality type, which is approximately 8.5% of the population. 7th, the ENFP Inspirer personality type is approximately 8.1%. 8th, the ISTP Craftsman personality type is approximately 5.4%. 9th, the INFP Dreamer personality type is approximately 4.4%. 10th, the ESTP Explorer personality type is approximately 4.3%. 11th, the INTP Researcher personality type is approximately 3.3%. 12th, the ENTP Debater personality type is approximately 3.2%. At this point in the list, you'll notice that the less common MBTI types are going to be all the intuitive types, which means that they all have a dominant or secondary function of intuition, which will either be introverted intuition or extroverted intuition. 13th on the list is the ENFJ Mentor personality type, which is approximately 2.5% of the population. 4th is the INTJ Mastermind personality type at approximately 2.1%. 15th, the ENTJ Commander personality type is approximately 1.8%. 16th, or last on the list, is the INFJ Advocate personality type, which is known to be the rarest personality type at approximately 1.5% of the population. The first thing you can notice about the 4 least common personality types is that they all have introverted intuition as a dominant or secondary cognitive function in their function stacks. Overall, only a small percentage of all MBTI personality types consciously use introverted intuition as a dominant, secondary, or even lower conscious function. One idea of why introverted intuition must be rare within a population is that the theory that introverted intuition creates people who desire to implement changes in society. Introverted intuitives use this perceiving function to recognize how society can be improved and renovated over time. However, this obviously poses a problem for the traditions and stability of societies and cultures if many individuals were trying to always change the ways of life. That concludes the list from the most common to the rarest personality type. Next, we will explore the 4 kinds of people according to the Keirsey temperaments. The 4 personality temperaments are the guardians, artisans, idealists, and analysts. Analysts are also referred to as rationals. However, I feel like analyst captures the essence more for that temperament. In a nutshell, the temperaments are 1. Guardians, who all have SJ in their MBTI type code. Guardians are stable, reliable, and duty-oriented individuals who are the foundation of societies. 2. Artisans, who all have SP in their MBTI type code. Artisans are active, spontaneous, and creative individuals. 3. Idealists, who all have NF in their MBTI type code. Idealists are people-focused and optimistic individuals. And 4. Analysts, who all have NT in their MBTI type code. Analysts are incredibly logical, observant, and improvement-focused individuals. Again, if these terms don't make any sense to you, please go ahead, do yourself a favor. Download my free MBTI resource guide so that you can learn the meaning of each of these letters. You can access it for free at thequestinpodcast.com/MBTI-guide. It's also in the description for this episode. Alright, as mentioned earlier, Guardians, the SJs, are the most common temperament type and comprise a majority, 46.1% of the population. These are the people who keep everything functioning properly through stability, routine, and traditional values. Second are the artisans, the SPs, who make up a quarter of the population at around 27%. These are the people who tend to be expressive, social, and pretty stylish. Third are the idealists, the NFs, who make up 16.5% of the population. These are the natural psychologists who love to learn about and analyze human nature. They're very people-oriented. Last are the analysts, the NTs, who make up 10.4% of the population. These are the well-informed strategic thinkers who excel at objective problem solving of all the complicated matters in the world. Because people are naturally energized and can become truly high-functioning through meeting their core needs, temperament is really useful for identifying the specific different needs and innate core values. I'll do a future episode all about temperaments. Please make sure to subscribe to make sure that you'll get notified about any upcoming episodes. I'm going to aim to release about 1 a week. Next, let's explore the dominance of cognitive functions as well as type preferences. Again, I'll start the list with the most common and end with the least common, for which cognitive function the types use as their dominant function. Carl Jung identified 8 cognitive functions. Each function is used by 2 of the 16 personality types. Therefore, the percentages for each cognitive function dominance is simply an addition of the 2 types that use that function. The most common dominant cognitive function is introverted sensing, also known as SI. SI is used by the ISFJ Defender and the ISTJ Inspector personality types. SI DOMs comprise around a quarter of the population at 25.4%. The second most common cognitive function is extroverted feeling, also known as FE. FE is used by the ESFJ caregiver and the ENFJ mentor personality types. FE DOMs make up 14.5% of the population. The third most common dominant cognitive function is introverted feeling, also known as FI. FI is used by the ISFP designer and the INFP dreamer personality types. FI DOMs total at 13.2% of the population. The fourth most common dominant cognitive function is extroverted sensing, also known as SE. SE is used by the ESFP entertainer and the ESTP explorer personality types. SE DOMs make up 12.8% of the population. The fifth most common dominant cognitive function is extroverted intuition, also known as NE. NE is used by the ENFP inspirer and the ENTP debater personality types. NE DOMs are 11.3% of the population. The sixth most common dominant cognitive function is extroverted thinking, also known as TE. TE is used by the ESTJ supervisor and the ENTJ commander personality types. TE DOMs comprise 10.5% of the population. The seventh dominant cognitive function is introverted thinking, also known as TI. TI is used by the ISTP inspector and the INTP researcher. TI DOMs are a mere 8.7% of the population. The last and least common dominant cognitive function is introverted intuition, also known as NI. NI is used by the INTJ mastermind and the INFJ advocate personality types. NI DOMs are only 3.6% of the population. The cognitive function dominance order from most common to least common is SI, FE, FI, SE, NE, TE, TI, and NI, or in full terms, introverted sensing, extroverted feeling, extroverted sensing, extroverted intuition, extroverted thinking, introverted thinking, and introverted intuition. One thing to notice is that the top half are sensing and feeling functions, while the bottom half are intuition and thinking functions. Now let's get into the 4 dichotomies of personality traits in MBTI. These dichotomies are the 4 letters of the type code, which are I versus E, N versus S, F versus T, and J versus P. We'll start in order. First, introversion versus extroversion. The 8 introverted personality types total at 50.9%, and the 8 extroverted personality types total at 49.1%. So introverts and extroverts are pretty equal in occurrence in the population. Second, intuition versus sensing. The 8 intuitives total at only 26.9%, while the 8 sensors add up to the majority total of 73.1%. This means that intuitives are only a quarter of the population. Third, feeling versus thinking. The 8 feeling dominant personalities total to a majority of 59.6%, while the 8 thinking dominant personalities total at a minority of 40.4%. Last is judging versus perceiving. However, one quick explanation is that the one dichotomy in MBTI that actually misrepresents a type is J versus P. This is because MBTI type code uses the J or P to indicate the first extroverted function of a type, which means that all of the 8 introverts are actually opposite to what their last letter is. To be a perceiver, also referred to as irrational, means to lead with a perceiving function as their dominant cognitive function. The perceiving functions are sensing and intuition, the ones that take in information. To be a judger, also known as rational, means to lead with a judging function as their dominant cognitive function. This means thinking and feeling. Those are the functions that people use to make value-based judgments. Only the extroverts in MBTI are represented correctly by their last letter in the MBTI type code. Those are ENFP, ENTP, ESFP, and ESTPs are all perceivers, and ENFJ, ENTJ, ESFJ, and ESTJ are all judgers. So, on the flip side, the introverts that have J at the end are actually all perceivers. Those are INFJ, INTJ, ISTJ, and ISFJ, and opposite, all the introverts with P are actually judgers. Those are INFP, INTP, ISFP, and ISTP. Okay, back to the statistical comparison of judging versus perceiving. The judging personality types total to a 46.1%, and the 8 perceiving personality types total to a little more at 53.1%. To summarize, the 4 dichotomies for type preferences reveal introverts are as common as extroverts, intuitives are outnumbered 3 to 1 by sensors, feelers are a little more common than thinkers, and perceiving dominant types are slightly more common than judging dominant types. If you want a visual copy of these statistics, go ahead and download my free guide to MBTI at thequestinpodcast.com/MBTI-guide, link in the show notes. The guide additionally summarizes how to easily understand MBTI type code, the 8 cognitive functions, the 16 personality types, and more. Our next episode will be on socionics inner-type relationships. If you haven't heard of socionics, it's an awesome expansion of the 16 personality typology theory, but it has an emphasis on relationship dynamics between types based on how their cognitive functions would interact with each other. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on this quest in. If you got value from this and enjoyed this video, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to get notified for future episodes. Until next time, please take care.